Hi, I'm Numbert and you're watching Battle Gamer News. Today I'm reviewing the Conduit. In the Conduit you play as Michael Ford, and in the beginning you're working for a special military group known as the Trust, when suddenly Washington DC is attacked by a species known as the Drudge. You soon question who is actually working for the Drudge and get wrapped up in a massive government conspiracy, and in the end it's up to you to save the world. The plot is fairly stereotypical of the sci-fi genre, and it's usually fairly predictable, but there are a few good twists towards the end. I say end because it's where the game stops, but the ending is clearly not the plot's stopping point, so the developers are obviously looking towards a sequel. The majority of the plot is told not in cutscenes or acted out in-game events, but in boring, unimpressive text at the beginning of the level and voiceovers in your headset. Maybe I've been spoiled by the beautiful talking scenes of this generation of consoles, but their method of telling the story seems extremely dated. The graphics of the Conduit are not what you would expect from first-person shooters on the other two consoles, resembling more what you would get from the last generation. But when you take into account the limitations of the Wii, the Conduit does alright. Certain things were done really well, like the particle effects and details on your suit in ASE, but objects look blocky and unfinished, and the skyboxes are just embarrassingly bad. The AI can be hit or miss depending on the area. Sometimes enemies will duck behind cover and lob grenades at you, while other times they will simply stand there or run straight at you, asking to be shot. The character models look decent, but there aren't very many, so you will be seeing the same ones several times. The animations are equally limited and can seem fairly awkward at times. This is probably why they went with text and voiceovers instead of cutscenes. The gameplay to the Conduit is fairly straightforward. You run from point A to point B, shooting everything in the way, with very little to break up the formula. There are several tight corridor areas and a few wider, more open battles, but none of them seem to be on a very grand scale, and the lack of boss fights makes the game very repetitive. There are a few interactive areas that could be thought of as puzzles involving the ASE, or all-seeing eye, but rarely involve more than running up and hacking a computer or finding a few nodes on a wall. The only real deviation from the linear path they want you to follow are hidden hallways that you have to solve a little puzzle to get into. If you do beat the puzzle, which you will because they're very easy to grasp, you will get one of several power weapons that will obliterate enemies but are very limited on ammo. The main highlight of the Conduit is that it uses the Wii controller for aiming, which works pretty well, unless you're doing something precise like sniping, and I never really felt like I was fighting the controls. Little things like flicking the nunchuck to throw a grenade were annoying when you would accidentally throw one at the ground beneath your feet, but the Conduit does allow you to tweak a lot of the controls, allowing you to set the game to your liking. Ultimately, the Conduit is a subpar first-person shooter, and if you have an Xbox 360 or PS3, I would stick to those. However, if all you have is a Wii, and you're dying for a first-person shooter, you may want to check it out simply because of the lack of shooters on the console. With the bad story mode, weak plot, and only slightly impressive graphics, the Conduit just didn't do anything for me, but if anything, it did show that the Wii is capable of some good FPS controls. I'm giving the Conduit a lousy 5 out of 10. Thanks for watching Battle Gamer News, subscribe, and check back every week for more game reviews.